Run! Go! Get to the Jibber Jabber!
Hey Valerie! It's on Apple Podcasts and Podomatic! Freaking awesome!
Alright guys, little impromptu Jibber Jabber podcast episode here for you guys. Just a wee bit of thank you for all the hard listening you guys have been doing. Like I said previously when I was on podcast with J-Mac, who will not be on this podcast because he's otherwise engaged. Like, not getting married, he's already married, he's just no here. But because you guys have been listening and sharing and just kind of helping us out as much as you can, showing up to our shit and really making the most of what we do on the Jibber Jabber, I thought maybe it's time to release that old Jesse Ventura episode we done on YouTube when we went to Manchester down in December. We got to meet various cast members of Rocky in different movies, Predator, which we met Jesse Ventura, where in this interview coming up you will hear him talking a little bit about being in certain movies, working with the likes of Carl Weathers, Arnold Schwarzenegger. You'll also hear him answer that question about, will you be running for president, Mr. Ventura? He answers that right here on the Jibber Jabber podcast. When we went there, we didn't kind of know what to expect in regards to the interview setting. Jesse is one of those high-paying guys where they pay him a lot of money, so it's quite hard to get him on his own. So we were in a room full of people asking him hundreds of different questions, but we were allowed to film it, and we were allowed to I got a few questions in there, and so did so many other people. So what you're going to hear here is a setting of 100 people talking and listening to Jesse Ventura tell stories. So it's not exactly the setting that we would have liked, the old one-on-one, but we will get that with Jesse. And you'll hear me in this interview. I got to ask him a question about WWE, which is anybody that knows me knows it's something I'm right into. So here is Jesse Ventura's episode coming up, where you can listen to this amazing little I'll call it a bonus golden nugget for all you guys in the Jibber Jabber. Like I said, we just got to thank you guys because we are climbing the ranks in regards to where our podcast is positioned on Podomatic charts, iTunes, Spotify. We're really starting to make a dent in it. We've seen you guys come out in numbers to support us on our local events. So yeah, just a big thank you to you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode. So remember this week coming, we have Edinburgh Comic Con on the 6th, and it's also there on the 7th at the Corn Exchange in Edinburgh. Make sure to buy tickets, go along. If you're coming along, let us know, and we shall meet with you and talk with you, and you can hang out with us. And stay tuned for all our interviews and stuff that come after that. And in the future, moving forward, we have a lot more stuff coming up, so we'd love to tell you about it right now, but we can't. Remember, on Monday the 8th, we are going live on Facebook for Game of Thrones reactions, which isn't a reaction because Game of Thrones is the following week it returns, but this one is just to kind of say, right, recap what's been going on in Game of Thrones before we go live the next again week. So you guys can check that out. If not, that's up to you. You can get it on demand. And here's a wee ad for Comic Con, and then after that,
It's Jesse the Body Ventura!
Come along to the Corn Exchange in Edinburgh on the 6th and 7th of April for Edinburgh Comic Con. That's right, the meeting place for all things comic book, film and television. We have a world of guests from all of these media who will be more than happy to take photographs with you and sign things for you. But make sure you bring money. They lack money, as do we all. You're going to need to spend some too and buy some tickets, which you can get on Eventbrite. Just type in Edinburgh Comic Con 2019. The fine fellows, Kevin and Jay, from the Jibber Jabber podcast will also be attending. Also, I said that funny. Also be attending. If you see us, if you know us, we'll be very surprised. But please come and talk to us. You never know. We might say something funny. Heh. Once again, tickets are still on sale at eventbrite.com. There are also special tickets for you superfans out there, which give you early entry, so that it's a little quieter. And you won't need to wait in queues longer than King Kong's finger to buy some cool stuff. We will have hundreds of vendors and many, many more attractions for you fans out there. This is an event by the fans, for the fans. Bring your friends. Bring your family. Don't bring animals, because they're dirty. Thank you, and we'll see you there.
Nothing more was said. She said, let's go meet the executive producers. And she walked me across the Fox lot. I went in and met Joel Silver and Larry Gordon. She came back. She handed me a script then. And it was the part of, and she said, here, read this. And I looked at it and I said, bunch of slack-jawed faggots around here. I said, this stuff, here's the line that got edited. This got edited. This stuff will put hair on your hog leg, make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus, just like me. The hog leg part ended up getting edited out, so it just ended up that it'll make you the sexual tyrannosaurus, just like me. She then said, here, read the rest of the script. I left. About an hour later, they made me the official offer, and then in case you don't know, I had to then quit the World Wrestling Federation because Vince McMahon was not going to let me go do the film. And so I told Vince, take a walk, I quit. I'm going to do the film because I can always come back to wrestling. How often do you get a chance to co-star with Schwarzenegger?
I don't know about all of you, but I cannot imagine anybody else to play Blaine. This is Blaine, right? Can you imagine anybody else trying to say that line?
Well, it was interesting because they were lucky I had a military background. So when they decided upon the weapon, Sylvester Stallone had kind of exploited the M60 in Rambo. So they wanted something beyond the M60 machine gun, and apparently they have a warehouse in LA that's got everything. And Joel, I heard, this is his story, walked in and he saw this gun. It's tripod mounted, it's electronically fired, it shoots like 8,000 rounds a minute, each barrel 1,000 rounds a minute Gatling gun. And he inquired, he said, has anybody, it's tripod mounted, it goes on Puff the Magic Dragon, a helicopter, or a PBR gunboat. Nobody had ever carried it. And that's what Joel inquired. He said, has anyone ever handheld shot this? And they said, no. And I heard he looked at him and said, Jesse Ventura can, give me both of them. So off came the gun. Now, then I worked with him on this. We had to devise a mechanism to carry this monster, right? Because it's tripod mounted. So we built an M60 hand thing underneath. We built that carriage around it so that I could then, off my web gear, snap into it so I could take some of the weight on my neck and the rest in my hands, because the actual weapon weighed 75 pounds. And you're not going on patrol with a 75-pound weapon, I guarantee you. And so I didn't even shoot the gun. You aware of that? Oh yeah, no. There's no trigger. It's electronic. They would run battery cables up my pants leg, splice it into the weapon, keep it out of shot. I just hold on to it, and when it was time to shoot, he'd juice the batteries, and away it'd go to weapon until it was empty. You know, no, it's electronically fired. So the stuff about the finger coming off the trigger and all that, it's baloney. It was when the guy behind the bushes hit the batteries, and you'd hold on to it. And I was asked, did it kick a lot? No. It torqued a little bit. The barrel spins counterclockwise, whichever, I can't remember anymore. It torqued a little bit that way, but nothing you couldn't handle. You know, it just torqued, and you'd feel a little torque where the barrel. I remember McTiernan on the one shot, he said to me, Jesse, I want you to shoot this and be aiming for the right corner of lens. Now, on all the lenses, they got these plastic things that guard the lens. We got done with the shot, and you know how far the fire went out of this gun? I got done shooting. I melted the right corner of the camera. And I looked at McTiernan and I pointed, I said, that close enough? The thing was melted down. Well, they're asking a Navy SEAL if he's going to be accurate. Yes, we will be accurate. On my dress uniform, I didn't have 2 ribbons on it that had E's on them. Anyone familiar with the dark ribbon that has an E on it? Well, what that means is you're an expert in pistol and rifle. If you have both of them with an E, then they have an S1, which is a sharpshooter. That in itself is then a marksman. And by the way, if you want to get into it, Lee Harvey Oswald barely qualified as a marksman. I am an expert, and I could not do the shots they alleged him to have done. It's bullshit.
I think some other people like what you're saying there, Jesse. We're going to go to questions in just
Sure.
a second.
I get rolling, so,
No,
cut me
it's
off,
great.
you know.
I feel like I can actually watch Predator and not be scared of the actual Predator now. I'll just be thinking, he melted that camera. That's how I'll be watching it. It's great. But just very, very quickly, I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but there's a very, very well-known TV series, and my favourite episode, I am not making this up, this man is in it. Jesse, do you want to tell everybody?
Well, I guess it got rated one of the top 10 X-Files of all time. Jose Chung from Outer Space. And I'll tell you about the X-Files when I did it. It was the hardest dialogue I'd ever done as an actor. Because they gave me paragraph lines that I had to say. I didn't even know what I was talking about. I mean, that's how the writing of the X-Files is at that type of level. And they give me lines as I played a man in black. And what was interesting was this. How many familiar with the episode? The X-File episode? Here's a trivia for you. Now you remember the men in black, the other man in black kept being recognized, but they didn't show you who it was. And of course you remember Charles Nelson Riley going, Alex Trebek, you mean the game show host? Like he talks. Well, yes, it was Alex Trebek, but here's your what do we call it? Food for thought. Here's your behind the scenes. Alex was actually a replacement. The man they wanted to get to be my partner as the other man in black would have been the man in black, Johnny Cash. But unfortunately, Johnny's health was bad, and he couldn't do it. So they had to substitute Alex at that, and Alex did a great job. But imagine if it would have been Johnny Cash. Even I would have asked for an autograph.
Jose Chung's from Outer Space is possibly one of the best episodes of the X-Files, if not the best. It's awesome. If you haven't seen it, watch it, please, because it is absolutely brilliant. But I think because there's so many people here who want to see you, and I saw a hand go straight up, can we go to questions?
Okay, now remember, you're Brits, slow it down.
And if you want to hold the microphone close to your mouth.
Hello. Hi, honoured to speak to you, Jesse. A lot of controversy surrounding the film Predator. I'm just wondering, did you spend any time on set when Jean-Claude Van Damme was in the Predator suit? And can you shed any light on that one?
With Jean-Claude?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if... Yeah, I guess I can.
Okay.
Jean-Claude got fired after 3 days. I mean, I can only tell the truth. I'll state this. I never ever saw what the Predator was, because remember, he was invisible. I never saw the Predator until a screening in Chicago, which was good because he was killing. We weren't supposed to see him. You look off, you don't see nothing. So I never saw what the ultimate Predator ended up, what you see. They didn't even know. And at the time, I believe they hired Jean-Claude. Jean-Claude at the time was living out of his trunk. Yeah, I remember that. And it was basically almost his first job. They brought him down there, and for whatever reason, it didn't work out. And they ended up getting Kevin Peter Hall, who was a 7-foot black guy. And that way he towered over Schwarzenegger. I think they originally cast Jean-Claude because they felt with his karate ability and his flexibility, he would be able to move through the jungle you know, and look agile and all that stuff. But they really didn't know what the Predator was going to be at that time. So Jean-Claude only lasted maybe a week, tops. And then I remember when they fired him, it was kind of ironic. You always hear that Hollywood, Joel Silver yelled at him, "You'll never work again." And he went back up there and signed with somebody else who would turn into a megastar. So never believe when Hollywood tells you you'll never work again. Somebody out there might hire you anyway. You know, they won't get you for your life. But Jean-Claude went on to have a great career. But his time with us was maybe a week at the most. He was never there for any of the actual filming, I don't think, because we all arrived over 10 days ahead of time.
You never actually spent any time in the jungle?
What's that?
You never spent any time in the jungle? Or...
Not that I reckon.
Alright, okay.
No.
Okay. Right.
I don't think so.
Thank you very much for that.
I didn't have the watch on him, so I don't know. But I know that we hadn't started principal photography, that he was fired before any of that took place. Because for like weeks, we didn't even know. They went through different concepts of what they wanted to end up with, and then of course you saw the end result of what they did end up with.
It would have been a bit different, wouldn't it? Like,
what's that?
Arnie and Jean-Claude, like Jean-Claude is the Predator and Arnie is like his mudded up self, and you go, what? It'd be a bit of a different Predator, wouldn't it?
I don't know.
I've just run with that in my head.
I thought Kevin.
He was awesome. He was awesome.
You know, I mean, you know, the problem for poor Kevin was how many roles other than basketball are you going to find for a 7-foot black man? And I mean, and he was a good actor. If you got to know him, this guy was good, but unfortunately, he was not blessed in the fact he was 7 feet tall. You know, he played Bigfoot too in Harry and the Hendersons, if you all remember that. Kevin did that job. So it was really a shame to see a talented actor like him unfortunately get put into a box because of his physical 7 feet tall. You know, he's great if you got a basketball movie, you know, but anything else, I guess he'll make a good Bigfoot and a great Predator. And unfortunately, he can't be here with us today because Kevin passed away quite a few years ago. It was a tragic loss.
He will be forever remembered as the terrifying alien in the jungle. That awesome way to be remembered. I think you've got another question.
Hi, Jesse. What was it like working on The Running Man?
What was it like to what?
The Running Man.
The Running Man? The Running Man. Well, I'll say this about it. It made me a lot of money. No. And I have to explain why. It didn't make me a lot. I got more than Predator for it, naturally, because it was my second major film, and you always go up, you know, hopefully go down in pay. But the reason I say it made me a lot of money was that by the time my part came around, we were on our third director. That's not a good sign, people. When you're on your third director, by the time you get there, now Paul Michael Glazer took it over, the old Starsky and Hutch from TV. And so when they got done, I'll always remember, and I can imitate a little here. I remember I was at my trailer and Arnold came over, he said, "Jesse," this was like in the fall, it's like October. He says, "Jesse, don't schedule anything for January or February." And I said, "Really, Arnold, why?" "Because you'll be back." No, yeah, he said, "Because you'll be back." He said, "They have so many holes in the filming, you're gonna have to be brought back, you know, to do the fill-in work." Well, as an actor on contract now, you love this, because now they have to break you down. Principal filming's over, they have to break you down to a daily rate, where you're getting umpty-ump per day. Well, sure enough, February comes, they need me, they fly me to LA, they put me up at the Roosevelt, we're shooting at Paramount or one of the studios there. Now, bear in mind, I'm on a daily, that's every day, and I won't say for how much, but every day. I sat there for 2 weeks and did nothing. But the meter's running. Well, after 2 weeks, every morning I'd call the set, I'd say, Jesse Ventura, what's the oh, don't worry, you're still on hold, Jesse. Remember I told you everything was screwed up on the Running Man? So after 2 weeks, I called and said, well, look, I said, I don't mind. I said, I'm good till June. I said, if you want me to stay here, I'll stay till, but June I got something. So I'm only good till June. Well, fortunately, within a week or so, I finally was able to shoot, got done shooting. Do you know what it ended up? I ended up making, I think, as much money on that as I did for the initial signing of the contract. All over, because the film was a mess. It went over budget. Now, FYI for all of you again, and some of you I'm sure will know, but The Running Man was written by a fellow named Richard Bachman. He wrote it in 4 short stories in a book. Well, that's a pseudonym name. Who Richard Bachman actually is Stephen King. So Stephen King wrote The Running Man, but he did it under the pseudonym of Richard Bachman. But that's why The Running Man is as bizarre as it is. You have to look to that writer. And Stephen King is the one that wrote The Running Man. I'm still waiting for Climbing for Dollars. I think that'll be a good one. You know, when the guy's going up the rope with the dogs, shoot him up. No, that's Running Man. Seems right. Climbing for Dollars.
When you were doing conspiracy theories, which one of them episodes really chilled you to the bone?
You know what? I'm going to take the political answer and say damn near all of them. You know, darn near all of them. How many people watch conspiracy theory? Well, I'll tell you what. That show didn't get canceled because of unpopularity. Rest assured of that. I took heat for that show from the highest echelons of government in the United States. I was actually put into the record of Congress. I was read off on the floor of Congress for conspiracy theory. I take offense to that. I'm a United States citizen. I'm a governor. I'm a mayor. I'm an honorably discharged Vietnam veteran. And they're going to read me off on the floor of Congress for me. What it was the episode, I don't know how many of you are familiar, where we discovered these 6 FEMA camps being built around the United States. Barbed wire, towers, all empty with stuff for children in them. And we inquired, what are these for? We showed a comparison between these and the camps Nazi Germany had. They looked identical. Because I got reported because of doing this to the Defamation League. Never heard from them. Because I think they looked at the photos and said they do look alike. This guy's not defaming nothing. So conspiracy theory, I took heavies for that, and I think the government, I won't go into it, ran an op on me.
Haven't you got an amendment that says...
What's that?
Isn't there an amendment in the American Constitution that talks about freedom of speech?
Yes, there is, but you need to understand today that I took...
In certain circumstances.
Well, when I took an oath many years ago, joining the United States military, I took an oath to defend the Constitution and the Bill of Rights against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I can clearly look at you today and tell you the biggest enemy to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights in the United States of America today is our own government. So therefore, I taking this oath forces me to fight my own government in the First Amendment. I don't know how many of you know what I was doing right before I came here. Well, it's public, I'll tell you. I came here because I was testifying in a federal RICO trial in Los Angeles, California. And it's a RICO trial, organized crime trial, the United States government against the Mongols Motorcycle Club. what they're trying to do. If they're successful, these motorcyclists will no longer be able to wear their colors or patches in public. This is a First Amendment thing, people, and people need to understand something clearly. The First Amendment is not there to protect popular speech, because popular speech does not need protecting. The First Amendment's there is to protect unpopular speech, because that's what does need protecting. And speech is also, you mean my government's going to tell me what I can or can't wear in public? That's what if they prevail in this, that's the result. So it isn't the fact that I was testifying on behalf of the Mongols Motorcycle Club. I was testifying on behalf of the First Amendment to the United States of America, stating, you have no right to tell these guys. For God's sake, they let people dress up like Nazis and walk around in the street. You know? This is a freedom issue. Now, it also might help that I'm a member. Nobody knew. I ran for governor and nobody knew. I love it. No, I was, when I transitioned, and I didn't say that they're from, I'll state this to you so you understand. When I came back from Vietnam, we weren't welcomed home. We got the opposite. There weren't flybys welcoming us home. There weren't football stadiums filled welcoming us home. We got the opposite. Somehow the politicians and the media managed to convince the American people we were the fault of the Vietnam War. When I went from military and that to civilian, the Mongols were my landing platform to make that transition. I needed somebody that understood me, and most of them are veterans. They became my support system because the public of the United States of America was not there. So I will be in debt to them forever for what they provided for me. You may not like them, but don't ever fuck with them. Excuse me, friend.
We've just got time for one more quick question, and then we're going to have to end, unfortunately.
Hello, alright. Going back to The Running Man, obviously you played Captain Freedom. Was there any other roles that you could have maybe played, or was Captain Freedom just the one you wanted?
I really didn't have a choice. Captain Freedom came about because when we were doing Predator down on the set, Arnold approached me and said, Jesse, my next film will be The Running Man. He goes, there's a part in there you're perfect for. Would you like to do it? Sure. One thing that's good, it always helps to have the star of the film wanting you in the film when it comes to negotiating. And what a good story on Running Man. So I told Arnold, I'd love to do it, Arnold. I went back home. We then negotiated The Running Man. Well, when you work with Arnold Schwarzenegger, he will teach you things, but he will teach you them in conversation. So listen. Right? And here's one of the things he taught me. He said, Jesse, never read the script until the money's right. And he said the reason is if you read the script first, it will make you biased towards the money then. You may want to do it, and you may cheat yourself out of the money. Better to have the money out of the way before you read the script. And I said, Arnold, that's easy to say for you. You got a dozen of them in front of you. You know. I said, I don't have that luxury, you know, da-da-da-da. But I mental noted it. Well, we started negotiating Running Man, and we got to an impasse. I wanted this much, they were only get this much. So they thought they were doing the right thing. They said, well, Arnold's coming in tomorrow, would you like to talk with him? I said, I'd love to talk with Arnold. I haven't spoken to him since I left Predator, right? A few months ago. They figured, oh, we're home free, right? So Arnold comes in, the phone call's made, Arnold gets on the phone, here's what Arnold says to me. Jesse, I thought you were going to do The Running Man with me. You know what my response was? I said, Arnold, I would love to do the Running Man with you, but I can't read the script because the money ain't right. Here was Arnold's response. Jesse, the script is fantastic. Just get the money right. Bye, Arnold. Bye, Jesse. We hung up. Within an hour and a half, they met my demands. And now don't quote me, but what I heard through the grapevine was Arnold turned to them and said, what is he asking for? They told him, and Arnold simply, walking out of the room, went, pay him. So magically, the money came up. So it certainly helps when, and that gets back to my choosing the running or the Captain Freedom character. Arnold chose it for me, but I think he did a good job because the money was right.
Ladies and gentlemen, he has been such an amazing guest, and I have one question left that you might all be thinking of. Jesse, it's a yes or a no answer. Okay? Are you going to run for president?
Am I going to run for
in
president?
2020?
In 2020?
There's rumours, yes or no?
Unfortunately, I cannot give the yes or no answer right now because I don't know. So therefore, since I don't know, I can't tell you. If I don't know it, how do you answer it? Here's the problems. I've been approached by the Green Party, whom I like. I voted for their candidate in the last. I don't vote for Democrats and Republicans. I am an independent through and through. I wrote the book, Democrips and Republicans, No More Gangs in Government. And the problem I see is this. If I accept the Green Party nomination, well, I could end up electing Trump. Because I'll give you the example. When I ran for governor of Minnesota as a third party, at the primary, which is 6 weeks before the general election, the Democrat was at 46%, the Republican was at 32%, I was at 10%. They made a mistake. They let me in the debates. In 6 weeks, I went from 10, now bear in mind it's a three-party race, it's not two anymore. In 6 weeks, I went from 10% to 37% and won. The Democrat fell from 46 to 28. The Republican basically stayed within the margin of error, 32, finished with 34. That's the problem. If I run, because I'm socially liberal, I'm going to steal Democrat votes to where I could ultimately elect Trump. And so I have to come to some agreement with the Democrats, and what I'm going to send to them is that let's ensure a victory. Let's the Democrats and the Greens get together and put only one candidate forward for both parties. That would ensure the Republicans would defeat. Now, don't get me wrong. I have issues with the Democrats too, because on many things they're in bed together, and one of those major things is what I oppose, and that is war. And with these two parties, the United States is now a war culture. And we have to break that, and where I will go, we will continue at war. But I will bring all the troops home, and the new war, which we would put all of our revenue and our resources into, would be a war against the climate. Because I believe this. I believe you're going to die from the climate long before you're going to die from a terrorist. And let me add this. The United States spends all of its money fighting the war on terror and its resources. Do you know where terrorism ranks in worldwide death? Number 32. Now again, where's common sense? Wouldn't it be better to spend your resources on 1, 2, 3, and 4 rather than number 32? 32? You can't even make the state finals if you're 32. You know?
He speaks an awful lot of sense.
So let me finish. So I'd love to tell you, yes or no, but I don't know. And I'm going to Mexico in a month. I live off the grid down there. I watch no television for 3 months. I call it flushing out your brain. I will go there this year. I will flush my brain out. And when I come back in the spring, hopefully, I will have made a determination with myself. But rest assured, it will be myself who determines that with my wife of 43 years. We will, and she don't want me to. And it's tough when the spouse doesn't want you to. And the reason she don't want me to, she told me point blank. She said, I don't want to be a widow. She said, if you're going to win, they're going to assassinate you. I don't know, but they did to Jack, they did to Bobby, and they did to your own John Lennon. Notice, everyone that stands for peace dies violently from a gun. Kennedy, both Kennedy brothers, Dr. Martin Luther King, John Lennon, all were voices of peace. They all died from a gun with violence. And yet Dick Cheney lives on forever.
I'm really sorry to cut it short, everybody. I could listen to him all day. It's been an honour having you here, Jesse. Give it up for Jesse Ventura.
One second, I just want to leave you with something. You know, when I won governor, governors can declare days, right? With whereases, whereas, do you want to know what the first, you need to know this, the first governor's thing I did, February of 1999, 1 month after being in office, I declared it Rolling Stones Day in Minnesota. The reason the Stones were coming for a concert, and I thought with all the year, they deserve their day, so I did it, and I'm gonna give you the quote. That night, Keith Richards came up to me, and I view Keith as the heart and soul of the Stones. Keith came up to me that night, and I'm gonna give you the quotes. He said, so you used to bodyguard us back in 78 and 81, huh? And I went, yep. And he goes, and now you're the governor. I went, yep. And in his greatest British accent, he looked at me, smiled, and went, fucking great. I will remember that. I will remember that for the rest of my life. Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jesse Ventura.
Check out our Jibber Jabber Facebook, Twitter, find us on YouTube, Spotify.